So, good evening, everyone. This is Carmen again, and I just wanted to get back to my story, but this time I want to talk about what we imagine in our stories. I had a real creative, vivid, bright, brilliant imagination, even as a kid. Um, I shared a little bit about growing up in my Albion days, living in two different projects, and my mom actually purchasing a home and us moving out of the projects. So let's fast forward past that time, and I talked a little bit about being married the first time and then getting a divorce and being my own representative as an attorney to plead my case to get out of that marriage. So let's fast forward past that. Learned how to eliminate self-defeating behaviors because, as you know, and if you don't know, when you are married and then you go for a divorce, so you're separating yourself from a relationship that you've had with someone, but then it's even more of a separation because you've actually created two children in that union together. So there's some behaviors and some healing that has to take place because you're leaving a place not only from your own past hurts and asking yourself why and trying to figure it all out. And sometimes we think too much about what happened instead of what's next, God. Show me what's next. If I've done anything to make this not work, Lord, please forgive me. Show me how to move forward. Be the best mom that you have called and created me to be. And when you send my next knight in shining armor, Lord, show me how to be the best godly, virtuous woman I could possibly be. And I say this now because in my first union, I didn't go in as a virtuous woman and with the mindset of having a virtuous woman. And neither did I have a godly husband. So, you get what you get when you don't plan properly and you don't study your word and you don't have a really intimate relationship with God. So now story 2, let's talk about my imagination. So now I am imagining the next for my life and what it's going to look like. And as a kid, I always storyboarded. I know everybody like storyboard. I storyboarded. I used Vogue and Town and Country magazines, and I was a Barbie doll playing girl. So, I played house in my imagination and everything was always perfect. I had the perfect grandfather in my eyes, and I had the perfect grandmother. They had the perfect marriage. So I watched them and I saw how they spent time together, how they communicated with one another, how they shared their love. And that was really important for me, and how my grandfather took care of all the financial things in the house. And my grandmother was a hair designer, so she just designed the home and all the women and encouraged everyone that came in her seat. So that was important to me, and I love that she knew how to make everybody feel good. And so I decided I'm going to make everybody feel good too. And then I also am going to be a business owner. So I always knew that I was going to be a business owner. I had a paper route, lemonade stand, all those wonderful things as a kid. And then my first real position that I created on my own was a marketing. I was so good in marketing in the apartment world with professionals and leaders and executives that I decided to develop and create my own marketing program back in the early 90s. And I marketed, well, actually, I showed apartment communities how to market and fill up the apartment complex with quality tenants. And that was a passion of mine. I was awesome with the branding and filling up apartments and thinking of witty ideas and creative innovations to bring in new vibrant people. And that kind of just landed me into my career of real estate. And those opportunities that we come into that show us or can seem to us that they are impossible. But once we imagine that we are the best and we see ourselves as the best and we practice and decide and speak and confess that we will be the best in this assignment, I'm going to be the best that I can be, you decide to go after that. And so I decided that I was going to be the best leasing consultant I could possibly be. And doors of opportunity began to open for me. And I loved it. I love the fact of helping people find a home. I love the fact of helping solve problems, finding the solutions for people. So that was one area that I totally enjoyed. And along the way, I found meeting very intriguing people from different countries. And I met a lady who actually proposed to me to teach classes to young women who had babies or getting ready to have babies on my lunch hour. And some reason I let her convince me to do such a thing through this MSU extension program at a place here in Lansing. Back then it was Sisters Ministry for Christ. And so I would go over on my lunch hour and talk to these young women who were getting ready to have babies about parenting and what comes with parenting and even the emotional pieces of parenting. I take them on trips and we read books and we talk about our esteem and our self-esteem and how to feel better and not to allow our past to define our future, because your past does not define your future. And we must remember that. And again, say to yourself, my past does not define my future. Anything that I went through in my past that stopped me and hurt me and tried to hinder me does not define me. I took that as a stepping stone and a learning opportunity to be better. So I learned every step of the way how to take my bad steps and make them good steps to make me a better person, and a better person for me, but also to help you. So the key is always look at what you went through in your past that looked like it was a hurdle or a hindrance. It was a learning process that you went through because it was to help you, but you also get to share your story and you get to help the next person. So we're walking along in our journey and we're helping people. So I tell you that, I started learning how to pray for my knight in shining armor to come. You never know how he's going to come. And if you're not living the Proverbs 31 life, sometimes you get what you get, right? So I met my shining armor, my knight in shining armor. And neither one of us were living the godly life. But guess what? Together, we found it. I found it first because I remember what was placed inside of me, because I had a praying grandmother who sent me to church on a regular basis without me saying that's what I wanted to do. So I remember what was placed on the inside of me. And eventually, after I was married, I started figuring out that the life of being in the world was not for me. So I was able to get out there, start finding happiness. I started feeling really great about myself. And someone who was a good father to my children, because, when we come with 2 children and we meet our next knight in shining armor, we are a package deal. So I was packaged up, shiny, in a pretty pink, red bow with gold glitters on it, excited about the new journey that God had for my children and I. So we went towards our new destination. And I tell you what, I began to see new dreams and new visions. And I began to imagine greater than I could ever imagine possible for myself. And God did that for me. And guess what? He's going to do it for you. So I'm going to stop now because I don't want to drag out story 2 too long. But stay tuned for story 3. Because my story, I'm hoping, is going to help you so you can create your story. Because I believe God called me to create businesses and show women how to find and define who they are through their entrepreneurial world, and also through their self-esteem of being healthy and whole and well. Because when our esteem and how we feel about ourselves is not up to 125%, it hinders us on celebrating ourselves and also celebrating others. So today I want to end with keep your eyes open to celebrating yourself and learn how to continue to love and celebrate your sisters. And until next time, Transformation by Carmen is excited about our next journey together. Have a good evening, ladies. Good night.